Order, order. We start with questions. Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Josh Babrinda.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of State is in Singapore celebrating 60 years of diplomacy between our countries and drumming up investment, so I'm afraid you've got the deputies today. Determined to take everyone with us into the digital age. I'm glad 98% of people now have access to super-fast speeds and 88% have gigabit. And single day.
Josh Babrin.
Thank you for the Minister for his response. Project Gigabit's stated aim is to ensure that no one is left behind. But that's not true for residents of Mulberry Close on my home estate in Eastbourne who have not been connected to full fibre despite bearing the brunt of invasive works on their doorstep. Will the Minister meet with me, residents of Mulberry Close and local internet providers to ensure that they are connected and not left behind in Mulberry Close?
Funny enough, the statistics in his constituency are better than the national average, just very, very slightly, by a smidgen. But I'm very happy to meet with him. But more importantly, probably, is if he came into the department and met with BDUK so that we can explain exactly what needs to happen in his constituency to secure the aims that he's seeking.
Grongold Pointer.
Question number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the chair of the Children and Online Safety, my honourable friend will know that keeping children safe online is a priority for this government, and we are focused on implementing the Online Safety Act so that children can benefit from its wide-reaching protection. The Children's Code coming in next month will see a step change in the experience of children online in the UK. And while we do not pretend that that's job done, and we are working at pace to develop further online safety package, children will no longer be able to access things like pornography and other unsuitable content, including content that...
Safety, and it's a growing threat to all of us online. That's why I was astonished to see the Tories and Reform vote against the Police and Crime Bill last week, which contains world-leading measures to tackle this horrific crime. Does the Minister agree with me that it's frankly disgusting to see...
Minister.
Thank you. I do indeed agree with him on that. And child sexual exploitation and abuse is one of the most horrendous harms. And the government is committed to ensuring that UK law keeps pace with criminal use of technologies, including AI. And we have introduced, as you said, world-leading offence in the Crime and Police Bill to criminalise AI. Create child sexual abuse material. This new offence builds on the protections in the Online Safety Act, and I'm very clear that nothing is off the table when it comes to keeping our children safe.
Dame Caroline Down.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister says, the Online Safety Act is now passed into law and is being implemented. But parents in my Gosport constituency are still desperately worried about the scale of inappropriate content that very young children can stumble across in the online world. Can she reassure us, when will they begin to practically see the changes that the Online Safety Bill promised? And when will these big online providers really start having to do what they say they're doing when it comes to keeping our children safe online?
Minister.
Thank you, honourable member, for her question, and I absolutely agree that we're still seeing children are still stumbling on material and content that they should not. The Safety Bill is fully enacted in practice in July. We'll see a step change in what children actually can see online, and we will monitor, Ofcom will monitor, and will ensure that where that material...
Secretary of State Alan Mack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I begin by congratulating the Honourable Lady, the member for Newcastle upon Tyne Central and West, on her well-deserved honour in the King's Birthday Honours List. I hope the whole House will agree this is a fitting and well-deserved honour for her expertise and service to the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, protecting children online should be a top priority for every government, and that's why the Conservatives passed the online... was asked in Parliament why implementation under Labour is so slow. The Minister said implementation must be as proofed against judicial review as possible. So why is the Minister more concerned about protecting herself and the government than protecting our children?
Can I just say, it was the party, it was his party who dragged their feet in bringing forward and watering down the legislation. And we are busy trying to implement the bill as it was set out in the guidance. So whilst the bill, as we've said, it's not perfect, we will see a huge step change. And where there are issues, where there are gaps, we are not afraid to act.
Mike.
Mr. Speaker, it's my party that passed the Online Safety Act. It's her party that's failing our children. Ian Russell set up the Molly Rose Foundation following the tragic death of his daughter. Ian says Britain is now going backwards when it comes to protecting our children online. The government is being timid when it should be bold. Her priorities are wrong and legal caution is trumping children's safety. So why is the Minister still defending this government's track record of
implementation is going as set out against the time frame that it was set out. As I said, we are not only busy implementing the bill, we are also looking at all, because his former ministers, MPs, watered down the bill as it was going through passage. So we will review the gaps in the bill and will come forward with extra measures where they're needed.
Caroline Bull.
3, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, rural mobile coverage just isn't good enough, which is why we've committed all the money needed to complete the shared rural network, and new masts are coming online every month. I can also announce that Ofcom's new coverage checker will come online tomorrow, and I urge every single member to check their own constituency tomorrow.
I thank the Minister for his answer, because I was going to say that, having looked at the villages in my constituency, the mobile map, which was supposed to be updated this month, was not up to date. So it's good to hear that it will be. But many of my constituents
bear any relationship with my lived experience. And from tomorrow, it will. It's much better, and you'll be able to see different numbers for different for all the different mobile operators. And I think that will encourage mobile operators to put up more masts and improve their coverage. I know she's talked about the village of Staverton in her constituency, 717 people. The Sea Trout, I think, is the pub. It's even got a telephone booth in it. Well, I'm not sure whether it's still working, and I just have this horrible fear. I don't want to leave her like Blondie, leave her hanging on the telephone.
In which case, Steve Witherden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency, one of the most rural parts of the UK, whole areas are without mobile phone coverage. People are forced to cope with unreliable phone lines and, most worryingly, sometimes unable to call 999. No one will be left without access to a phone simply because there is no mobile signal once their landline is switched off.
Mr. Speaker, I've been very keen to make sure that the withdrawal of the PSTN, which is being done because it's necessary, because the copper system simply isn't working anymore and is more fallible, doesn't leave anybody without a proper ability to contact 999 or get the services that they need. I'm very happy to arrange for him a meeting with BDUK to go through precisely how we can make sure that in every constituency in the land we have proper investment to make sure that people have the mobile signal that they need to live in the
Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my department is working closely with the Department for Education and Skills England to ensure that the education system is ready for the opportunities and the challenges that AI poses. And we are assessing the AI skills gap, and my officials have also been working very closely with DfE on, for example, the Education Content Store, which is a pilot project that seeks to help developers make better AI tools for teachers by providing a store. Last week produced guidance to support schools with safe and effective use in education, effective use of AI in education.
Speaker, can the Minister outline what steps are being taken to reduce academic dishonesty and plagiarism in schools resulting from the use of artificial intelligence tools?
Minister.
Thank you. I thank the honourable member for that question. AI has demonstrated that it can help education workforce by reducing some of the administrative burdens and that hard-working teachers and staff and school leaders face in their day-to-day role. On the question that he asked, evidence is still emerging on the benefits and risks of pupils and students using generative AI themselves. We will continue to work with the education sector to develop understanding of effective and safe uses of the cases. But as I said, the department has issued guidelines in schools.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AI is already prevalent in the workplace and in the education system, and we need to equip the next generation to be able to use AI tools productively, securely, whilst also delivering on their unique potential as human beings rather than AI. So how is the Minister working with the Department for Education to ensure that the AI tools that are used in the department, in our education system, support this kind of learning? And specifically, what advice has she given to the department with regard to the procurement of EdTech tools, which are widely available? Some are free, some need to be paid for. How are schools to...
As I said, I work very closely with my counterparts from DfE. We earlier this year launched safe standards for the sector, giving sector guidance on how to safely develop AI tools for education. The DfE have also provided guidance to school on how safely to use AI in schools. This work is still ongoing, so that we get this right.
Sir John Whittingdale, number 5.
Mr. Speaker, as soon as we have legislative proposals on AI, we will introduce them to the House.
Sir John Whittingdale.
Is the Minister aware of the concerns about the proposed creative content exchange, which appeared without consultation in the creative industries sector growth plan? Can he confirm that any AI legislation will not seek to impose statutory licensing model, but will instead facilitate a market-led dynamic licensing model based on robust copyright law enforceable through meaningful transparency?
Mr. Speaker, he's become terribly Eeyore-ish of late. And he's been eating too many thistles, I think. And the truth of the matter, consulted on in the Creative Industries Task Force, which was led by Baroness Shruti Vadira and Peter Bazalgette. I think that this could be, of course we're going to consult with everybody else in the sector about how we can make this work, but it could be an answer to ensuring more licensing of creative content by AI companies and remuneration, importantly, for the creative industries.
Democrats spokesperson.
Absolutely deserved. Donald Trump's proposals to ban US states from regulating AI for 10 years have been condemned by Microsoft's chief scientist, showing that we cannot trust the US in terms of safe and sensible AI regulation. So would the Minister agree with me that now is the time for the UK to lead in AI safety, and join myself and the head of Google DeepMind in calling for an AI safety agency modelled on the International Atomic Energy Agency and headquartered here in the UK?
I've been remiss, we've both been remiss in not congratulating my right honourable friend of Newcastle on her damehood. As you know, Mr. Speaker, all knights love to see a dame enter the chamber. My honourable friend and I work very closely on AI and copyright, and also on making sure that we have the AI safety and security that we need. She makes a fair point, and it's one of the things that we're looking at the moment.
Rachel Mass.
Speaker, the Chancellor has announced that the government's R&D spending plans £58.5 billion over the spending review period, and I'm sure that will benefit her constituency in York.
Thank you. York and North Yorkshire is a national leader in the bioeconomy, and Bio-Yorkshire will create 4,000 jobs. Start-ups and spin-outs, however, requires £67 million to build the facilities over the next decade, but will return £215 million back into the economy. So when will the science plan recognise the economic and scientific impact of the research base, and can we have a meeting?
Do you have a meeting with her?
Danny Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Danny.
Go on. There's many tech startups over the last 10 years have left the UK and gone to Silicon Valley, which costs the UK a huge amount of jobs and tax revenue. What is the government doing to ensure that current seed stage startups stay in the UK and grow here so that we can avoid the UK becoming a kind of intellectual property farm for other countries to harvest?
I think one of the really important things about the industrial society, plans within it, is that we identify.
Number 7, please, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, to the discovery of the structure of DNA, British medical innovation has played a fundamental role in changing the lives of people globally and extending the UK's global influence. And our industrial strategy and forthcoming life science sector plan will put the UK at the very centre of global.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Minister will know, Gavi and the Global Fund not only provide a global vaccine programme and programmes on saving lives from malaria and HIV, they also provide us with biosecurity and jobs here in the UK, not least at least 500 R&D jobs and the funding of the Institute for Tropical Medicines. What impact has he made if the UK is to reduce our efforts in that?
The Vaccine Alliance is absolutely essential, not only for other countries in the world where we've managed to save many lives by introducing vaccines, but also to UK innovation, and we're fully committed to it. We'll be producing our life sciences sector plan soon, and we want to celebrate the sector, which represents 6,800 businesses and £100 billion worth of turnover every year.
Gregory Camp.
Speaker, the Minister will be aware that the Life and Health Science Launchpad in Northern Ireland has so far funded 32 business-led projects, which is good news, but 23 of them are in the Greater Belfast area. Will he join with me and others in ensuring there's greater knowledge across all of Northern Ireland so that we can all benefit in trying to further this very worthwhile project?
Yes, indeed. And when I was talking about the creative industries sector plan as part of the industrial strategy last week, exactly the same point was made, that Belfast is obviously a great centre for innovation and for the creative industries, but we need to make sure that that extends across the whole of Northern Ireland. It's a point that is extremely well made.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 8.
Mr. Speaker, the Digital Inclusion Action Plan is one of the things that I'm proudest of, and only this morning I was able to launch the IT Reuse for Good Charter, because one of the things that really is problematic for many families who have no access to the internet is they simply don't have a device. So I would urge every member to have a digital government, and we need to have a digital nation, and we can't have some people excluded from that future. That's why we've been able to announce £6 million in this financial year for the Innovation Fund, and I hope that local authorities will be coming forward with innovative ideas on how we can break down the barriers to digital inclusion.
Right, we're going to go to topicals, and we start with topical 1, Patrick Hurley.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Department is determined to make the UK the best place in the world for science and technology. Last week, the Spending Review committed £86 billion to research and development, enabling every aspect of our tech economy to start firing on all cylinders. Building on that, we published the Digital and Technology Sector Plan as part of our modern industrial strategy on Monday, backing our innovators in fields like quantum, life sciences and engineering biology with over £1 billion.
Patrick Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Across the northern part of my constituency, from Marshside over to Hesketh Bank.
Members aren't meant to go in front of another member. It's discourteous, and you deliberately looked and carried on. Patrick Hurley.
Across the northern part of my constituency, the mobile phone signal is uniform. Constituents are missing out on opportunities. So can I ask the Minister to work with rural mobile black spots like this to further the government's growth mission?
Minister. I know this is an issue in his constituency because he's tabled at least 10 questions to me over the last week on this subject, all of which we've answered. MPs persuade the mobile companies across the country to invest more in getting better mobile coverage across the country, both in rural areas and in urban ones.
Dr. Ben Spencer, Shadow Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. why is the government ignoring the advice of the AI Opportunity Action Plan to encourage the start-up and scaling of tech businesses in the UK and instead favouring market-dominant corporations from abroad over our own domestic businesses when awarding government contracts?
Not. Daniel Francis.
To support the development, validation and uptake of alternative methods in scientific procedures, what steps will the Minister be taking to ensure that this includes specific commitments to phase out the use of dogs in scientific and regulatory procedures, replacing them with modern, human-specific technologies?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government remains committed to ending the use of dogs and all animals in scientific procedures, replacing them with modern, human-relevant technologies. And our long-term goal is set out in our 2024 manifesto commitment is to phase out animal testing entirely. And as the honourable members said, to achieve this, we will publish a detailed roadmap this year alongside convening roundtables with researchers, industry and animal welfare organisations to ensure we hit the target.
Speaker, my constituency of Eastleigh is home to 5 games developers. Does the Minister agree with me that the use of AI in video game development should not be allowed to push out human creativity? And what assurances can he give me that the government is not being complacent in its approach to AI?
We are completely and utterly not complacent. I know, and we are determined to make sure that creators other people's labour to a third party. I think of Cruise International, and I very much hope that as a former journalist, she would help. She's asked.
Another precinct.
Mr. Speaker, it's very clear that Europe and the United States of America wants us to working closely with Europe on the regulation of AI. Can you tell us about what talks he's had about how we protect UK copyright in that context?
One of the issues that undoubtedly at the heart of this issue about AI and copyright is how you make sure that the policy we advocate in the UK is one that works with other countries around the world. I can assure her that we're working closely with our European allies to make sure that that is precisely what we do.
Sir Olney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go for it.
In July 2024, the Secretary of State pledged to launch a consultation on the regulation of frontier AI systems shortly. However, recent reports suggest it won't be forthcoming until summer 2026, as leading AI companies have admitted. Could the Minister confirm why there has been a delay?
I'm afraid the Shadow Chancellor was coming in, who I've known for a very long time. I wouldn't cheer him quite so enthusiastically myself. As charming a man as he is. But it meant that I didn't hear the honourable member's question, so I'm very happy to write to her afterwards to confirm.
Mr. Speaker, Stratford and Bow is a thriving hub of innovation, which is why the Prime Minister chose it for the launch of the AI Opportunities Action Plan earlier this year. One brilliant example is Health Tech One. Once a kitchen table startup of doctors and tech experts, they now automate admin for 22% of GP practices. Their new patient registration system has saved the NHS a staggering 183 years of time. What's the government doing to support homegrown innovation like this scale up their work?
I thank the honourable member for her question. Her constituency is indeed a hotbed for innovation. The honourable member will be delighted to know that Health Tech Care One has benefited from a range of government support today. This includes Innovate UK grant awarded to the company only recently.
We now come to questions to the Prime Minister. Mike Tapp.
Question number 1, please, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been asked to reply as my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, was attending the Nato summit in The Hague. At this time of international the tensions in the Middle East and to ensure the conflict does not intensify further. Our aim continues to be preventing Iran from securing nuclear weapon and to urge the Iranians to return to negotiations. Mr. Speaker, the situation in Gaza remains the gravest concern. Seeing the return of more hostages' bodies and that of Shay Levison and the Israeli with British family is heartbreaking. The remaining hostages must be released, and while aid must be delivered at greater speed and volume. Mr Speaker, this week is Armed Forces Week. Our commitment to armed forces is unwavering. The Strategic Defence Review outlines how we will give our armed forces their commitment, bravery and others. And in addition to my duties in the House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mike Charles.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The party opposite gave up on law and order. They betrayed our country and let criminals run riot. Now they desperately post wannabe superhero videos, shamelessly pointing at the problems that they created. But last week, Mr Speaker, they had the chance to put it right. And what did they do? They voted against tough action on knife crime, on antisocial behaviour and on violence against women and girls. Does the Deputy Prime Minister agree that they should hang their heads in shame for failing to protect our streets?
Order. Spoke to government responsibilities, not the opposition. Let's come to Mel Stride.
Mr Speaker, opposite the Right Honourable Lady. Despite what many may think, we have a great deal in common, not least that we both viscerally disagree with the Chancellor's tax policy. And it is great to see the Right Honourable Lady standing in temporarily for the Prime Minister for the second week running, although I know there are many sitting behind her who wish this was a permanent arrangement. Indeed, Mr Speaker, you will find many of their names amongst the 122 who have signed up to oppose the government's welfare bill. They say that the bill is dangerously rushed and ill thought through. So can the Right Honourable Lady explain why she thinks that she is right and 122 of her own colleagues are wrong?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, first of all, Mr Speaker, it's nice to face the latest wannabe at your dispatch box. I'll tell the Right Honourable member why we're pressing ahead with our reforms, and that is because we're investing £1 billion into tailored employment support, a right to try to help more people back into work, and ending reassessments for the most severely disabled who will never be able to work. Mr Speaker, we won't walk away and stand by and abandon millions of people trapped in the failing system, left behind by him and his colleagues.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Right Honourable Lady completely sidestepped my question. She can't even defend her own government's policy. Can she at least assure the House that the vote on Tuesday will actually go ahead?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't know if he sort of listened to what I said because I was reading off the script, but what I can tell him, and I don't need the script, we will go ahead on Tuesday.
Well, there you have it, Mr Speaker. There will be a vote in this House on Tuesday on the welfare bill, although many on the backbenches could be forgiven for thinking they've heard this before with the winter fuel payment, where they were marched up the hill, and we all know where that story ended. But, Mr Speaker, on this side of the House, we are absolutely clear. We will help her to get their bill through if they can commit to actually reducing the welfare bill and getting people off benefits and into work. Can the Right Honourable Lady make that commitment right now?
Speaker, he demands a programme to help people into work, exactly what this bill does. After he left 1 in 8 young people out of the economy, he demands no new taxes from the party that raised taxes to record levels, and he demands further welfare savings, Mr Speaker, from the man who was in charge as the welfare bill absolutely ballooned.
The lady has clearly not read her own legislation. The bill will see the number of people on welfare rising for every single year going forward. There is no commitment from the Right Honourable Lady to cut the number of people on welfare. And even if they manage to deliver these reforms, almost every respected economist now says tax rises are all but inevitable in the autumn. But after the budget, Mr. Speaker, the Chancellor said, and I quote, "I'm not coming back for more taxes." Mr. Speaker, British businesses have been hit again and again by Labour's economic mismanagement. They are desperate for certainty. So can the Right Honourable Lady give them that certainty now and repeat to the House the Chancellor's promise not to raise taxes at the budget?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is a bit rich. Unbelievable. Inflation above 11%. The biggest tax rises by their party. I take no lectures. And on this issue in particular, Mr. Speaker, they can't make their minds up. First they said our reforms were taking too long, then they say they were rushed, then their front bench said our measures were too tough, and now they say they need to be tougher. No plan, no idea. I wonder why their party was left in such a mess.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House will have heard that the Right Honourable Lady did not repeat the Chancellor's promise not to raise taxes. And Britain's businesses have today been put on notice. Tax rises are coming. Specifically, in her own area, despite Labour's promises to freeze council tax, the IFS says that the spending review will mean the biggest council tax increases in a generation, a £7 billion tax rise. And yet the Chancellor and the Prime Minister have repeatedly claimed that the government will not raise taxes on working people. So can I ask the Right Honourable Lady, why doesn't she think that council tax is paid by working people?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, I think we've got an absolute nerve when council tax rose every single year. We've kept it there, Mr. Speaker, while delivering money for taxes up and ruin the British economy.
More pain for businesses right up and down our country. Borrowing up, unemployment's up, inflation up. It's just, and neither are the public. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I'm not even sure if the
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm embarrassed every week that somebody comes here from their opposition who doesn't apologise for the mess they left this country in. There was one party that crashed the economy and left families paying the price. We're putting working people first, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud. We've got a huge boost to the minimum wage, the biggest uplift to affordable housing in a generation, and expanding free school meals to 500,000 children. The Tories' choice, billions of pounds in unfunded tax cuts for the very wealthiest. We know where that gets us. It's their same old Tory failed approach. They haven't listened and they haven't learned a thing.
Mr. Speaker, Product Community High School in my constituency was forced to relocate to Washington after their just over 8-year-old building, built under the previous government, was found to have cracks in the infrastructure. This incredibly distressing news has required huge resilience and strength from the local community. So will my right honourable friend join me in paying tribute to the staff, to the parents, and most importantly to the students at Product Community High School, and join me in commending them for their hard work and dedication during this incredibly destabilising time?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I will do, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for bringing this important issue to my attention. I can only imagine the disruption and challenges facing the school community. One of the shameful legacies of the party opposite was to leave schools across our country literally crumbling. We're fixing that with
Liberal Democrat Stacey Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I start by associating myself and my party with the remarks of the Deputy Prime Minister in calling for de-escalation in the Middle East, for the release of hostages and for the urgent aid to get into Gaza. We Liberal Democrats are opposed to the government's cuts to personal after the carers' allowance scandal saw thousands of innocent carers hounded for repayments. So can the Deputy Prime Minister give a cast-iron guarantee that if these cuts are pursued, that at the very least, not a single person will lose a penny until the carers allowance scandal review has been completed and the recommendations?
Well, thank you for opening comments, Mr Speaker, and she knows that we've already been taking steps and those steps will continue on the carers allowance. The welfare system are the party of work, but we're also the party of fairness. That's why our bill will deliver the largest permanent real terms increase to basic out-of-work support since the 1980s, invest in tailored employment support so that people can try work safely, Mr Speaker, and to ensure that those that can never work are properly supported.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's disappointing that the Deputy Prime Minister couldn't give that cast-iron guarantee, but if the Government does pursue this bill next week, then we will pursue this matter on behalf of carers. Mr Speaker, given the reports that the Government is giving a green light to President Trump's demands for a state visit, does the Deputy Prime Minister agree that the UK should urgently convene talks with the White House in advance of that state visit in order to leverage that state visit to secure US guarantees for Ukraine, including the use of frozen Russian assets, and to secure a joint UK-US message to Putin that together our two countries will not let Putin win his illegal war?
Well, I say, Mr Speaker, the UK Government is always US counterparts. We're really pleased that the US President is coming for a second state visit, and we will continue to welcome in that vein and we'll continue to have those discussions.
Abraham.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In Oldham, there are 727 families currently living in temporary accommodation, 8,000 families on the waiting list. And this obviously has a devastating impact on particularly the children of these families. So will Deputy £39 billion that have been allocated to her department in the spending review to fix the housing crisis left by the government, the opposition. So families in Oldham, Saddleworth and wider can get the affordable homes that they need.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right, and as neighbouring MPs, we know the impact on the temporary accommodation situation and children being homeless it has on their life chances. And my honourable friend is absolutely right to raise the issue and for highlighting the excellent work, Mr Speaker, of Dr Laura Neal, that we've confirmed the biggest boost to social and affordable housing investment in a generation. We're getting on with the job of the mess they left behind.
Gavin Robbins.
Very much, Mr Speaker, and can I identify my colleagues and I with the in the Middle East. The Deputy Prime Minister, I hope, will condemn recent disorder in the streets of Northern Ireland, as the Prime Minister and indeed my colleagues have. Does she accept that the Windsor Framework, though sold to this House as an issue for trade, is fundamentally impacting the ability of this sovereign Parliament to legislate on a UK-wide basis on the matters of immigration? Will she
children should have a safe and secure home, and that's why I'm so proud that we've confirmed the biggest boost to social and affordable housing investment in a generation. We're getting on with the job of the mess they left behind.
Gavin Robbins.
Very much, Mr Speaker, and can I identify my colleagues and I with the comments around de-escalation in the Middle East. The Deputy Prime Minister, I hope, will condemn recent disorder in the streets of Northern Ireland, as the Prime Minister and indeed my colleagues have. Does she accept that the Windsor Framework, though sold to this House as an issue for trade, is fundamentally impacting the ability of this UK-wide basis on the matters of immigration? Will she commit to ensure this government continues to robustly challenge against that expansionism that is currently before the courts? And if not, will she legislate to ensure that we as a country can control our own borders?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, first of all, Mr Speaker, I do condemn the violence on the street. Agreement referred to in Article issues relating to Northern Ireland's past. I hope the Right Honourable Gentleman is assured that we're appealing a number of the law relating to Article 2 of the courts, including the Supreme Court, and I hope he will also be assured applied and enforced immigration law on a UK-wide basis, and the Government will take all necessary steps to defend that position, just as we will remain committed to protecting rights across the whole of the UK, Mr Speaker, as it should be Parliament that makes rules on immigration.
Rebecca Longbell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last night, Newsnight covered the Daily Mirror's 3-year investigation of the Newt blood scandal, in which thousands of troops had blood and urine monitored, even chest x-rays, during nuclear weapons tests, but the results were withheld from their medical records and their suffering denied for decades. So as a fierce supporter of these men and their families who she's met with me, will the Right Honourable Lady agree now of the essence? These elderly veterans deserve answers, justice and an apology.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, as my honourable friend said, Mr Speaker, I commend her for the campaigning work that she's done on this issue, and I have met with some of those affected, and I know the strength of feeling on this, and I've heard their deeply personal testimony and experiences. I pay tribute to all of the nuclear veterans and their enduring and we're looking into unresolved questions regarding medical records, Mr Speaker, as a matter of priority.
Ben Lake.
Mr Speaker, I should like to join the Deputy Prime Minister in thanking members of the Armed Forces community for their service. And Mr Speaker, I've had the privilege in recent months of meeting many veterans in my own constituency, some of whom still carry the trauma of war. Some, including amputees, have told me how repeat disability assessments are too often required of them in order to access financial support. And so does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that veterans with life-changing service-related injuries should be exempted from repeat disability assessments in future?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, again, part of the reforms we want to do is ensure that those that can never work are properly supported and not put through this endless assessment. And I thank the Right Honourable Member for raising the case. We are committed to renewing the nation's contract with those that we serve, and a range of support is in place for veterans, including dedicated medical and physical health care, pathways in the NHS, employment and in housing. And the new support system, VALA, backed by £50 million of funding, will provide a network of support.
They're going to be under a lot of pressure. There's going to not only just dead weight with the ships that are sitting there, but the lifeboat, the transportation of the ships coming in. So, yeah, for us, a lot of pressure to make sure we're pouring the right concrete, we're hitting the programme, we're handing over a good quality end product.
At the marine end, McLaughlin and Harvey's civil engineers built the all-important North Quay. Well, to the west of the hull, there was also another critical activity, the construction of thousands of burgers.
In this picture here, you can see HMS Cardiff. So if you can imagine 2 of these within this assembly hall being built. So it's going to be a very busy place going forward.
Key to the assembly hall are 2 gantry cranes and 2 Goliaths.
can start to travel 100 tonne an hour. The smart features we've got on these that we need to know about are the tandem function, anti-collision. The technology on these, they are as good as we'll find out there. You see it's connected because we're getting brains and Goliath brains.
One of the objectives of the project was to build both the assembly hall and the Type 26 frigate simultaneously.
What was a critical thing for us was getting the build hall ready for Belfast going in.